All right, and three.
Wait,
And
I gotta sneeze. No, never mind. It went away.
ladies and gentlemen, as always, we are grateful to have you here with us on another episode of the Canoe Creative Spotlight. My name is Chris, your host, the person that's going to bring the amazing creatives from around the world straight to you that you never knew was around you. And today we have an amazing group of individuals. Someone like me is always on the prowl for people that share our vision of connection around the world. And the group that we're speaking to today, BronxFilm48, is a group that fully understands the possibilities of collaboration. We have Edwin, Greg, Christine, and Iadis, who are here today to talk to you about their premise of what they're trying to accomplish with BronxFilm48. Thank you guys for talking with us today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So the whole premise of what we try to do here on the Canoe Creative Spotlight is to give you guys the platform that you deserve to talk about yourself and let the people know what you guys do. So Edwin, please tell us, how did BronxFilm48 come to be?
Well, I guess the very beginning origins, it started when me and our other co-founder, Gregory Hernandez, were working on a documentary together. We were producing this documentary called 1.5 Million, which is, definitely in the works to come out soon. And basically, we were just like we were doing research to find things like, because it's about the highlighting the literacy issues in the Bronx, especially with youth. And we were just kind of looking up things that are happening in the Bronx for like programs or like reading programs and things that people have done to kind of alleviate this issue. But during this researching time, we were just kind of like Greg kind of said, yeah, we should have we should do a 48-hour film challenge. Like that's something that this borough doesn't have. Like that's something that it would just be a cool, fun thing to do. Like there's already the national one, which is pretty much, I guess, inspired the rest of the ones around the country. So we just wanted to bring that, to localize that to our borough, to the Bronx. Because the Bronx doesn't really have like a lot of platforms to it has a few things and a few groups like Bronx Filmmakers Collective, shout out to them, Bronx Documentary Center, Ghetto Film School, Cinema School, all those it's awesome that all these things are starting to develop, and we are just basically this is like our idea contribution to celebrating this medium, and we just started kind of hashing out ideas of how that would go about. And then it's funny because Greg met Iadis and Christine at a networking event, and then that's how we all ended up having a meeting together in I think the Bronx Draft House by Yankee Stadium. We just had a couple drinks and hung out, got to know each other, and just talked about this idea. But Iadis can definitely tell you more about that from then on. But it's crazy that it all came together in a few months. It was from I think February we were thinking about it. It was in concept, and then by June we were making it happen.
Fantastic. I love that.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, in our first episode, shout out to Gio the Rican, another Bronx native. Check out his video right here. And one thing that I really love about what you guys are doing is just embracing that idea of promoting and uplifting Bronx-based creatives, and I think that's really embodies the entire premise of what Canoe is supposed to be. Iadis, can you tell us what exactly is it about the Bronx that makes that area so special, especially for creativity?
I mean, I think there's a lot of, I can't even narrow it down to one reason as to why there's the Bronx is so special, and especially because of creators. I think the fact that there's a lot of negative stigma around the Bronx and everything, but there's also a lot of creatives, and it helps to combat that stigma, because it tells you that other narrative, other stories, and that our stories matter too. And honestly, the Bronx has it. I know it for resiliency. So a lot of people that I know, especially filmmakers or overall artists, creators, they're just very resilient in the Bronx, and they're ready to like work together and just hustle.
Absolutely. That's that New York hustle that, we all have, that mindset that, you just got to go out there and get it, man. Creativity is one of those things that you can't hide, you can't be ashamed of it, and you have to be really willing to run towards it, and anybody that's been successful in any venture in any creative field has been a person that took a risk and took a chance on themselves, and I respect that about your group a lot. Edwin, I want to ask you specifically, what are some of the things that you think are real challenges for creatives, in the sense of just like, not just forming a group, but being a person that is coming from an area that, may have a stigma? What are some of the obstacles that you have to overcome as a creative, specifically in film? That's one area that there's a lot of like misunderstandings about, of how to get started. Like, what are some of the common challenges that we face?
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of challenges. I think especially in communities of color, communities like basically in neighborhoods that don't have as much wealth as a bunch of other neighborhoods. I think really the issues are like the access to resources and the access to people, and also just a community of people that are willing and have the skills to actually help you out in executing an idea that you have. And I think that's why we, while we were developing the Bronx 48 Hour Film Challenge, we also were developing networking events before that, so that we can get some people together. And the aim for that was to basically already have people, filmmakers in the Bronx, together in the same space, networking with each other, so that maybe they could like form teams with each other and join forces for the Bronx 48 Hour Film Challenge. So we set up these networking events to make that easier for people, because they're really, there's Facebook groups and there's all these things that are uniting people online, but there wasn't a lot of like physical, like, other than like the Bronx Documentary Center and maybe sometimes Bronx Council of the Arts, there hasn't been a lot of places that really celebrate this medium to the public, to everyone. So we just wanted to, for myself, like I've always been looking for a sense of community within my borough. A lot of the gigs and a lot of the jobs too, the opportunities that always came to me were always from like either Brooklyn or Queens or Manhattan. Like usually the Bronx is almost very devoid of like film production, I guess, in terms of like union film production and a lot of like different modes of like work. But I think that the we just, like, the biggest challenge is like we need unity, like more people connected uptown, so that we can celebrate uptown as well. And I think like, because there's like the Harlem Film Festival, there's like the hip hop film festival, like there's so many different film festivals of things being celebrated. But the Bronx itself, like it's like I guess I don't want to say a desert, but it's definitely like devoid of a lot of the things that you see in other boroughs.
Right.
So I think, especially for a commuter, especially if you don't have a car, like it's definitely hard to like travel in different points of the city just for a simple like gig of like camera or editing or something.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I met you specifically, that was my introduction into your brand of BronxFilm48, and we interacted through Instagram. I think you might have saw one of my posts or some of that, or something like that. And I was really interested, because one of the things that I agree completely about is just that creatives in a whole, we all kind of need each other, and a lot of times if you're a filmmaker, you have a network established of filmmakers and people within that field, but you may not have people within other creative demographics. You may not know as many musicians, or you may not know as many graphic designers. And realistically, we all need to pass those creative checkpoints to a project. You know what I mean? And that was really where Canoe's, foundation was built upon. And I participated personally in one of your networking events, and thank you guys again for that opportunity to speak to your crowd and your audience, just about what I'm trying to accomplish. And it was really refreshing to see the kind of things that people were doing in the area. Everybody's film looks top notch. Everybody's so ambitious and hungry to get out there. You had an amazing panel of actors and directors and cinematographers, and it was really cool to see that type of engagement, and that type of interest. It was actually, funny enough, the first networking event I actually went to for creatives specifically. So I shout out to you guys for that. It was really dope. Beatrice, I want to ask you specifically as well. What are some of the things that, is a common misconception or a mistake, some things that maybe up and coming filmmaker may miss along the way? One of the things I liked about your website is that you guys offer seminars, for people kind of up and coming. And I think that's really important to not just create, but also educate. So what are some of the things that you guys think every up and coming filmmaker should try to accomplish before they get started?
Yes, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of things, and I think the reason that we don't only want to do and focus on a 48-hour film challenge is because there is a lot of things that that can be steps that you take to becoming more of a professional filmmaker, right? And we understand that everybody that participates in our challenge, it's you could either be a new filmmaker. We had people that had never made a film before. So we wanted to make it accessible in that way, that it was okay, this is for all ages. You could be a pro at it, or you could just be a beginner, right? So more than anything is networking, for you to really being able to make a film. Filmmaking is a collaborative process overall. It doesn't happen on its own, and it's a very interdependent process, right? So you got to be able to not only know someone that's good with the camera, but you're gonna need actors, you're gonna need sound operators, you're gonna need maybe 2 DPs, or overall it's a collaborative process. So the reason why we wanted to do workshops as well is networking. We just had a resume workshop, which is also a way for us to get in, understand how HR looks at our resumes, and a way to get Bronx and underrepresented youth in the media industry too. And I think that would be really understanding little steps, right? Okay, networking, meeting creatives and working together, and also learning from them, right? Because I think overall, you always need to learn from everybody else, and it's always good to be able to come together and just create magic overall. I think other things to consider at the beginning, really just not being afraid to just start. I think we have said this time and time again as the team, we are the ones that we've been waiting for, right? So being able to just start. We had someone that was trying last year that this was their first film ever, and they did it with their phone. Another team that was okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm a team of one, and they did it. That was just their start, and then ever since they just been making films. So really just start.
Well said, honestly, well said. I think you said it if I can really encompass all of it, and it's networking. Networking is really the key. And I think coming from a musician standpoint, I think that's one very common thing, one common thread that we share from you guys being filmmakers and me as a musician, is that those are two creative fields specifically are ones that rely on other type of creatives, as I said before. And I think that developing teams, establishing really good connections, finding people who are just as hungry as you is a really important process, and something that we all need to really go, to really work on and make sure that it is something that we always have accessibility to. I don't think that anybody that created any great film just operated every single position on that project. I think it's kind of unrealistic to assume.
So you could definitely wear all hats, but
yeah. I know plenty of people that do it, absolutely, and cheers to those people that, do everything, that go from writing to directing to starring, those type of things right there. I was watching, I'm a huge Office fan, and I was watching John Krasinski recently. He was doing an interview, and I didn't know until recently that he directed and starred in that movie he did, A Quiet Place. I love that film because it was so unique. It was weird to see a silent film, you know what I mean? That's based upon this idea of just silence, and it was horrifying. It was a terrifying movie. But I just had such a deeper respect for him because I only know him as Jim Halpert on, The Office, and it's just, it was so interesting to see someone on that level, operate with such precision on both crafts, as an actor, as a director, as a writer, because he wrote it as well, or co-wrote it. Yeah, so I think that everything you said is dead on, and I think networking is just the common first priority that any creative should really try to accomplish.
We really are like our biggest resources, each other.
Absolutely. We're all over the place, and that's really what Canoe is about. That's really what you guys are trying to do is about. It's really about the idea of helping others identify what kind of possibilities are out there, and you guys are more regional in the sense of you trying to uplift your region of the Bronx and really shine a light on them, and that's really what we all kind of share of that idea, and the one thing I really want to ask, this really goes to both of you, and I'll give Edwin the first chance at it, is what are some of the real goals that you guys want to accomplish with BronxFilm48? Like, if you guys could look, 5 years, 10 years down the line, what are some of the things that you hope to gain from it, and what are your long-term goals?
So yeah, we definitely, in our meetings, we definitely try to think of, like, especially when we just finished an event, we definitely try to think of like what the next year would look like, and how we would like pretty much go about figuring out, like, okay, what are the steps, what are the kinds of events we want to have, and what are we going to do for the 48 challenge. And I think that in the future, we definitely want to grow and expand, not just in terms of like how many people participate in our events, but also just like increasing the resources and the amount of, and therefore, like, by increasing the resources that we could bring to people that want to be creative here, and filmmakers and just content creators in general here, we could also create just more film production and filmmakers that are working and operating in the Bronx. So that's one of our biggest goals. And I think with each event, with each 48-hour challenge, we definitely are trying to increase that number just to really see how far, like, try to bring more people together, like have like bigger teams, and event, and have like more platforms and events to really celebrate the work that we make, the work that is made here. So I think that we definitely have a few ideas. One of the ideas, we're definitely trying to like have like a public outdoor screening somewhere, possibly either on a rooftop or like in a park. We're definitely trying to think about how that could be done safely during this time, or even after pandemic is over. But definitely just like, basically, like, outside of like all the events we've been doing now, we really just want to see the medium being more celebrated here.
Absolutely. And yeah, same question. What do you feel?
Yeah, and just to add to what Edwin said, like, really just to increase the amount of films that are made in the Bronx overall, and I agree completely with everything that Edwin said. We really want to see these films not just like done for like increased and done for our challenge, but also we want to see them submitted to other film festivals, and hopefully like other international film festivals as well. Absolutely. We've been going to a lot of drive-in theaters too. So we've been like, taking notes and see hopefully how we can make this happen for next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, it would be awesome if like one of the films was featured in like Cannes or something, or like something like that. That's definitely like just like a delightful goal. Even if that never happens, like it doesn't even matter what happens to the films after. I guess what matters is like just giving the filmmakers a chance to actually make the film in this crazy short amount of time. Right. Just so like, they can, I guess, like creativity is kind of, I guess, like a muscle, and they like just exercise this muscle and just say like, especially if we've been cooped up this whole time, just to have like a moment where like, okay, I'm gonna get some people together for this weekend and just create something at this moment. If we can bring that on like a scale that's like even to like the hundreds of people, that would be amazing. So we just want
that would be great. 100 films to show at a film festival, that would be like a 3-day film festival.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, have like maybe a physical space to like really celebrate that. That would be great too.
Absolutely.
Having the people connect, honestly, more than anything, and continue to make films even outside of the challenge.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then maybe eventually one of these filmmakers like makes something either here or a resource from that we provide that gets them to that level And if we can help push people to that level, then that's just more than we could hope for.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, guys, I respect so much about what you guys are doing, honestly, you know, and that comes from just a person who is a creative and who understands just the necessity of people like you who are really trying to uplift the community. You know, Canoe is really about that. You know, there's a lot of things out there that is just the idea of connecting creatives, but we really are trying to focus on community creative connections. You know what I mean? Because that's really what is special, and that's what really, like, every community has its own flavor, its own style, its own vibe, you know, and I think that the Bronx is no exception, you know, to that rule. We're always going to be here to support you guys, and anytime that I feel there's a way that I can help uplift your guys' brand and what you guys are trying to do, we're always going to try to do that for you guys. So you know, I really appreciate you guys' time today, taking time and sharing your knowledge and your time. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. Oh, one more thing.
Yes.
Show off. Let me just find it real quick. So in case like people think like, oh, I don't have the resources to start, you can film on your phone, but just, I guess, for nostalgia's sake, this is like the first camera like I ever got.
Nice.
Like a waterproof camera. It's a little busted up because I like
There it is.
flung out of my wrist, but it's got like these bubbly things to keep it from like, getting watered in.
All right.
And yeah, this is the answer to like my parents like, hey, I wanted to get a camera, make some movies, and this is like when I was like, I guess like maybe 13 or 14 years old, and this is what I got. So I had to like try to make little things off of this. Definitely not the best, not the most cinematic looking camera, but whatever people can, you know, have to use, whatever programs
whatever it is that you have, just start.
You can get started. There are so many ways to get started.
That is so poetic. That is so poetic to end on that note. Guys, thank you so much for your time and for your experience and for your time. It's so refreshing always to talk to people like you. So thank you again.
Thank you, Chris, for providing us with this platform as well. I'm excited to see how CNU is going to connect us with more creators.
Absolutely. We're on this journey together. So thank you, guys. Appreciate you. That's going to be it for this episode of the Canoe Creative Spotlight. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below. Make sure you find us on www.CreativesNearU.com, and make sure you follow BronxFilm48 in the links we provided below. As always, I'm your host, Chris, and make sure you always connect, collab, create.